Most companies would give a new employee small tasks, simple edits, introductory meetings. But no. Her task was the equivalent of redesigning a billboard with one hand tied behind her back. She sighed, whispering, "Welcome to South Korean corporate life." Still, she refused to complain. She dove into the project, writing copy, adjusting layout ideas, researching the company's voice, comparing competitor pages. Hours passed. At some point, she realized she hadn't eaten lunch. Her stomach growled loudly. "Cierra SSI." Hannah called, peeking over her desk. "Are you still working?" Cierra lifted her head weakly. "A lot to learn. I'll catch up." Hannah hesitated, eyes softening. "You don't have to push yourself this hard on the first day." But she did. She absolutely did. Inside his glass-walled office, Jae-min stood silently, observing his employees. Or at least, one of them, Cierra Johnson. She wasn't like the others, who watched the clock, who avoided eye contact, who stuck strictly to their job descriptions. No, she worked with a strange mixture of urgency and sincerity, as if the work meant something personal to her. He didn't know why he was still watching her. It bothered him. Why did he remember her trembling hands during the interview? Why did he replay her ideas in his head? Why did he think about the small splash of coffee on his sleeve? He clenched his jaw and turned away. Ridiculous. He wasn't the type to get distracted. Especially not by an employee. Especially not by someone who had just arrived in Korea with nothing but hope crushed beneath heartbreak. Yes, he had read between the lines during her interview. But still, his eyes drifted back to the window. Cierra was hunched over her desk, fingers flying, face lit by her computer screen. Focused, determined, far too easy to notice. His hand tightened around his pen. This is a problem, he told himself. At 4 p.m., just when Cierra thought she might be getting the hang of things, she received an unexpected message. From CEO Jae-min to Cierra Johnson. Subject, review. My office. Now, her heart dropped. She stood, smoothed her blouse, and walked to his office, trying not to look terrified. Inside, he was reviewing a report on his tablet. Your landing page draft, he said without looking up, has several issues. Her chest tightened. I can fix them. I just need. You misunderstood the tone. His voice was calm, not harsh, but sharp enough. She swallowed. Yes, sir. I'll adjust. And your English copy is too emotional. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. Emotional. He looked up finally, meeting her gaze. Korean business language avoids unnecessary warmth, he explained. Your writing sounds like a personal letter. She winced internally. Understood. He studied her expression a moment too long. You're taking this personally. She stiffened. No, I just want to do well. His eyes softened a fraction. Just a fraction. Good, he said. Then redo it with precision. No emotion. No metaphors. Only information. She nodded, gathering her courage. May I ask a question? He raised a brow. What made you hire me? Her voice was small, honest. Everyone seems to think I don't belong here. Silence. Then, you asked the wrong question. Her heart thumped painfully. But then he continued. The question should be, why did I give a foreigner a chance when others wouldn't? She blinked. Why did you? He set his tablet down. Because I don't hire backgrounds, he said quietly. I hire potential. Cierra stared at him, breath-catching. Before she could reply, he added sharply. Meeting's over. Close the door. Back at her desk, she worked harder than she ever had. Hannah glanced at her with concern a few times, but Cierra only smiled and kept typing. By the time most employees packed up to leave, she was still there, rewriting, reanalyzing, reformatting. And from his office, Jae-min noticed. Every time he looked up from his own work, there she was, still working, still pushing, still fighting to prove herself. And despite himself, something inside him shifted. Admiration, respect, interest he didn't want. He exhaled sharply, irritated with himself. This was supposed to be simple. She was an employee, a trial hire, a foreigner unlikely to stay long. But fate had a strange way of touching his life, usually when he least expected it. And this time, fate had a name. Cierra Johnson. The rain came without warning. One moment the Seoul sky was its usual late evening navy blue, and the next it was swallowed by swirling clouds that unleashed a heavy downpour against the Syntec windows. Most employees had already gone home, eager to escape the storm. But two lights still burned on the 37th floor. One on Cierra's desk, the other in Jae-min's office. The building felt different at night. Quieter, lonelier, almost intimate. The hum of machines echoed softly, and the glow from the city outside flickered like distant stars. Cierra hunched over her computer, rubbing her temples. Her eyes were burning from staring at screens all day, but she refused to go home until her updated English marketing draft was absolutely perfect. She had already rewritten it 3 times. Still, the fear of disappointing Jae-min kept pushing her. "Come on, Cierra," she muttered to herself. "You've fought harder battles." But her concentration shattered when Hannah rushed in, soaked from running back inside from the parking lot. "Wait, you're still here?" Hannah asked, breathless. Cierra blinked. "I'm almost done. I wanted to finish tonight." Hannah shook her head. "You're working too hard. Please go home soon. Okay?" Before Cierra could respond, a sudden alert tone echoed through the floor. Hannah froze. "Oh no, not now. What's wrong?" Cierra asked. Hannah swallowed, eyes wide. The company's main product launch page. Half of it just crashed. Cierra's stomach sank. "When is the launch?" "Tomorrow morning." "And who fixes it?" Hannah grimaced. "The marketing and tech teams. And the CEO." The air thickened. Then, from across the office, a door swung open sharply. Jae-min stepped out. He was still in his suit, jacket off, sleeves rolled up just enough to show the tension in his forearms. "What happened?" he asked, his voice low but controlled. "The launch page malfunctioned," Hannah reported quickly. "We don't know if it's an update issue or a server glitch." Jae-min's jaw tightened. "Which team is still in the building?" Hannah winced. "Just us." His eyes flicked to Cierra. For a moment, she thought she saw surprise. Maybe even relief. "Johnson," he said. "With me." Cierra's pulse jumped. "Why, yes, sir." He strode back into his office, and she followed with shaky steps. The room felt entirely different at night, lit only by the desk lamp and the glow from the digital displays. The rain pounded softly behind the glass, making the entire city look blurred and softened. "Sit," he said, pointing at a chair beside his desk. She obeyed, trying not to fidget. Jae-min leaned over his tablet, scanning lines of analytics and data. He looked razor-focused, tension in every muscle. For the first time, Cierra saw him not as a CEO, but as a man carrying an impossible weight. His company, his employees, his reputation. He didn't have the luxury of mistakes. "What do you think caused the crash?" he asked suddenly. She blinked. "You want my opinion?" "I asked for it," he said without looking up. Her mind raced as she examined the charts. "The English and Korean versions updated differently," she said slowly. "One got overwritten. The other kept the old layout." He paused, looked up at her. "That's correct," he said, sounding almost surprised. Then, something shocking. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly. A near smile. Cierra's heart fluttered. "It means the issue isn't the page," she continued. "It's the sync. If we separate the systems temporarily, we can fix the English side without affecting the Korean one." He stared at her as if she had just solved a puzzle he'd been struggling with. "You noticed that from 2 minutes of data?" he asked quietly. She nodded. He exhaled softly, almost a sigh. "Good. Help me fix it." She scooted closer to the desk, and together they opened the editing system. Rain pattered against the windows, giving the room a peaceful rhythm. Keys clicked. Screens glowed. The silence between them felt thick, but not uncomfortable. Electric. Charged. As they worked, Cierra noticed things she hadn't before. How Jae-min tapped his pen 3 times when thinking. How he inhaled slowly whenever dealing with stressful data. How his shoulders relaxed only when she offered a new idea. He wasn't cold. He wasn't emotionless. He was guarded, burdened, alone. And she somehow brought him ease. Half an hour passed before the first breakthrough. "There!" she cried, pointing at the screen. The Korean version reverted. The English one is fixed. Jae-min leaned close to see. Very close. Close enough she could smell the faint scent of his cologne. Something crisp, clean, masculine. Her breath caught. He didn't seem affected, but the warmth of his proximity made her cheeks heat. "Excellent work," he murmured. Her heart stumbled. "Thank you," she whispered. They restarted the system, watching the graphs update. Numbers climbed steadily. "It's stabilizing," he said, relief brushing through his tone. Cierra looked at him. For the first time since meeting him, his posture softened. His brows unfurrowed. His shoulders lowered as if a weight had been lifted. "You look different when you're not angry," she said quietly before she could stop herself. Jae-min turned his head slowly. "I wasn't angry," he said. "You always look angry," she muttered under her breath. His lips twitched again. A second almost smile. "Maybe your presence has changed that." Cierra froze. He immediately looked back to the screen, as if regretting his own honesty. But she heard it, felt it. Something was shifting between them. They continued working until the system finally restored completely. It was past 11 p.m. when Jae-min sank back into his chair, exhausted. Cierra stretched her arms, groaning softly. "That hurt," she said, rubbing her neck. Jae-min glanced at her. "Here." He stood and walked behind her. Before she could react, his hand gently tilted her chair. She stiffened. He leaned just close enough to look at her screen, their shoulders brushing. Electricity raced up her spine. Jae-min cleared his throat and stepped back, realizing what he'd done. "Your work made this possible," he said quietly. His voice had lost its sharpness. It was softer, almost warm. "You are impressive, Miss Johnson." Her breath hitched. "Thank you," she whispered again, voice barely stable. He studied her face for a moment, her eyes, tired but determined, her lips pressed together nervously, the damp curl that had escaped her bun. Then he said words she never expected from him. "I'm glad I hired you." Her heart swelled. "Me too." He grabbed his jacket, and they stepped out into the hallway together. The building was silent now, empty except for the security guards downstairs. At the elevator, she pressed the button, trying to calm her pounding heartbeat. Jae-min stood beside her, hands in his pockets, gaze fixed forward. But she noticed something. He was standing closer than before, just enough that his arm brushed hers lightly. The elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. Neither spoke, but the air between them felt different, warm, charged, full of unspoken things. As the elevator descended, Jae-min looked at her reflection without turning his head. "You did well today," he said softly. Cierra met his eyes in the mirror. "So did you," she replied. Something lit behind his gaze. Something tender. Something he quickly hid. When they reached the lobby, he stepped aside and gestured for her to exit first. Outside, the rain still fell heavily. She hesitated. The bus stop was a long walk away, and she didn't have an umbrella. Jae-min noticed. Without a word, he opened his umbrella and held it above her. "Walk with me," he said simply. And for the first time since arriving in Korea, Cierra didn't feel alone. The morning after the late-night crisis, Cierra felt strangely lighter. Tired, yes, but filled with a soft energy she couldn't explain. Maybe it was the way Jae-min had walked beside her in the rain. Maybe it was the almost smile he kept giving her. Maybe it was the certainty that she had finally proven her worth. Whatever it was, she stepped into Syntech that morning with a quiet confidence she hadn't felt in weeks. But by noon, that confidence was tested. She was sorting documents near the reception area when she heard her name. "Cierra?" Her breath caught. She turned slowly, and there he was, Alex, standing in the middle of the lobby with his hands in his pockets, looking both relieved and guilty. "Hey, Alex?" she whispered. He gave a small smile, one she used to melt for. Now it only made her uneasy. "You look good," he said softly. "You've changed." "No," she replied firmly. "I've just grown." His smile faltered. "What are you doing here?" Cierra asked, arms folded. Alex winced. "I needed to see you. We didn't end things properly. We ended things exactly how they needed to end." He looked down. "Things with Sua. They're not good." Cierra blinked. Not surprised, just disappointed. "Alex, don't do this," she said. "You made your choice." "I know," he breathed. "And it was the wrong one." A heavy silence settled between them. "Cierra, listen." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I've been thinking about us, about how good we were, how you understood me, how you supported me in everything." He swallowed hard. "I miss that. I miss you." She stared at him, really stared. Not at the man she once loved, but at the man who left her in a foreign country without support, who chased comfort instead of loyalty, who expected her to stay the same girl who always forgave him. "I'm not your backup plan," she said slowly. Alex's eyes widened. "That's not what I meant." "That is what you meant," she corrected him. "And I won't be that for you." His expression twisted with frustration. "Why are you acting like this? We were perfect together." "No," she said, stepping back, voice steady. "We were convenient for you. There's a difference." Alex raked a hand through his hair. "Cierra, I just need comfort right now. Everything is falling apart." "And I'm not your emotional bandage," she replied, voice sharp and clear. He froze. The confidence in her tone stunned him. This wasn't the soft, patient girl he was used to. "Since when do you talk like this?" he muttered. "Since I stopped begging for someone to choose me." She took a breath. "I'm building my life now," she said. "My career, my future, myself. And there's no space for someone who only remembers me when they're lonely." Alex's face twisted with hurt, disbelief, and anger. "Wow, you really think you're too good for me now? Huh." "No, Alex," she said calmly. "I finally think I'm good for myself." He opened his mouth, but stopped suddenly, because someone else was standing behind Cierra. The elevator had opened without either of them noticing, and Jae-min stood there, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable, eyes locked on Alex like a silent storm. His gaze moved to Cierra, softening ever so slightly, then back to Alex, cold, sharp, assessing. Alex shifted uncomfortably. "Can we help you?" he snapped. Jae-min didn't answer him. Instead, he looked at Cierra. "Is he bothering you?" The tone, calm but dangerously controlled, made her heart stop. Alex scoffed. "And who are you?" Jae-min finally stepped forward, posture tall, polished, intimidating. "I'm the one who decides who belongs in this building," he said smoothly. "And you? Don't." Alex's mouth fell open. Cierra's breath caught. Jae-min wasn't raising his voice. He didn't need to. Authority radiated from him like heat. "Cierra," Jae-min said softly, eyes not leaving her. "If you need to go upstairs, I'll accompany you." Her pulse quickened, not just from fear, from something else, something she hadn't expected. He was protective, possessive even, and jealous, quietly, deeply jealous. Alex noticed it too. His eyes narrowed. "Oh," Alex said slowly, "I get it now." Cierra stiffened. "What?" "You moved on," Alex said bitterly. "With him." "That's not," she began. But Jae-min interrupted gently. "Whether she has or hasn't is none of your concern." The shift in his voice, low, firm, almost territorial, sent a shiver down her spine. Alex clenched his jaw. "This isn't over." "Yes," Cierra said firmly. "It is." Alex stared at her one more time, looking like he barely recognized her anymore. Then he turned and stormed out of the building. Silence filled the lobby. Only the sound of Cierra's breath, shaky, uneven, broke the stillness. Jae-min took a step closer, concern replacing the sharpness in his eyes. "Are you all right?" he asked quietly. She nodded. "I am. More than I expected." "You handled him well," he said. She looked up, surprised. "Really?" His gaze softened. "Yes, you were strong." Her heart fluttered. "And I didn't like the way he talked to you," he added, voice low. Cierra swallowed. "Why?" Jae-min paused, just long enough for her heart to stutter. "Because—" He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "I don't like seeing anyone treat you as if you're insignificant." Her breath hitched. "And because," he continued quietly, "I don't enjoy the idea of other men coming back for you." Heat washed through her. The meaning in his words was unmistakable. A seed of something new, dangerous, warm, thrilling, took root between them. Jealousy, interest, possibility. Before she could respond, he gently gestured toward the elevator. "Come," he said softly. "There's work to do." But his eyes, they told her everything he wouldn't say aloud. Things were changing, rapidly, undeniably, and nothing would ever be the same again. 2 weeks after Alex's unexpected return, Syntech buzzed with excitement. Posters went up, department chats exploded, and everyone walked around with extra energy. The annual company retreat, held on Jeju Island, Korea's hidden paradise, had finally arrived. Cierra had heard the rumors: bonfires on the beach, team-building games, a late-night drinking, the CEO occasionally letting loose. She laughed at that last one. She still couldn't imagine Jae-min letting loose. The man barely loosened his tie. But something inside her fluttered at the thought of spending 3 days in Jeju. 3 days away from Seoul. 3 days outside the office. 3 days near Jae-min, without the strict walls of work. She tried not to think too much about it. But her heartbeat thought differently. When the team arrived at the resort, Cierra stepped off the shuttle and gasped. The ocean spread out endlessly, blue and glittering. Palm trees swayed. Warm wind brushed over her skin. "This place is beautiful," she whispered. "You picked a good spot to stand." Cierra froze. That voice. She turned, and there was Jae-min, suitcase in hand, sunglasses hiding half his face, but not the smirk tugging at his lips. "You wear sunglasses?" she teased before she could stop herself. He raised a brow, like a normal human being. "Yes." Cierra burst out laughing. His mouth twitched. Tiny, rare, precious smile. "Your room is this way," he said, guiding her toward the resort entrance. "Wait," she said. "You know my room number?" He paused for half a second too long. "I know every employee's room number." She narrowed her eyes playfully. "Right? Sure. That's totally the reason." He cleared his throat and walked off. She grinned. This trip was already interesting. That evening, the team gathered for the welcome dinner, outdoors, facing the glowing orange horizon. Cierra sat among co-workers while Jae-min remained at the leadership table. But his gaze found her more than once. She tried to ignore it. She failed. After dinner, while everyone roamed the beach taking photos, Cierra walked closer to the water. The waves kissed the shore, and the sky turned shades of gold and rose. She closed her eyes, letting the moment wash over her. Soft footsteps stopped beside her. "You wandered off," Jae-min said quietly. "I needed fresh air," she replied. "The air is the same everywhere on this beach." She laughed. "You always take things literally." "Not always." She looked at him and noticed something different. His shoulders were relaxed. His tie was gone. He looked human, warm, real. "Sunsets look nicer when you're not glaring at your laptop," she teased. He glanced at the sky, hands in pockets. "It is nice," he admitted. A rare admission. They stood in silence for a moment, comfortable, intimate. Too intimate. Cierra stepped back. "I should join the others." But he caught her wrist gently. Not enough to restrain, just enough to stop her. "Stay," he said softly. Her heart skipped. He released her immediately, as if he surprised even himself. "I mean, only if you want to." She exhaled shakily. "I'll stay." The rest of the evening was filled with accidental closeness. He handed her a drink without asking what she wanted. She brushed sand off his shoulder without thinking. He stepped in front of her when fireworks startled her. Their hands touched too long when passing a plate. Each moment was small, but each one felt like a spark in the dark. That night, the team held the annual bonding tradition, drinking games at the lounge. Cierra tried to stay quiet. Her co-workers had other plans. "Cierra, join us. Bring the CEO too." She nearly choked on air. No, he wouldn't. But then he walked in, and the room fell silent. Everyone watched as Jae-min scanned the crowd and walked straight to the empty seat beside Cierra. She could practically hear the company chat exploding in people's heads. "Do you drink?" one coworker asked. "Occasionally," Jae-min said. They poured him a glass. One shot turned to two. Two became three. By the fourth, his ears turned pink. "Oh my God," Cierra whispered. "He's actually human." He leaned toward her. "Don't tell anyone." "I won't," she whispered. His shoulder brushed hers. He didn't move away. Near midnight, Jae-min rested his elbow on the table, eyes half-lidded. "Cierra," he murmured. "Yes, you." He paused, blinking slowly. "Are very distracting." Her breath hitched. "De-distracting." He nodded, voice low and heavy with honesty. "I try not to look at you, but my eyes disobey me." She stared at him, stunned. He leaned closer. "Do you know how difficult it is to be near you?" Her heart pounded so loudly she thought others could hear it. "What do you mean?" she whispered. He exhaled, warm breath brushing her cheek. "I mean that Time for group photos," someone shouted. The moment shattered. Jae-min blinked, straightened up instantly, face turning cold again. "We should join the others," he said, voice suddenly formal. But the look in his eyes told the truth. He had almost said something he wasn't ready to say. The final day of the trip was a team hike up Hallison's forest trail. Cierra was doing great, until she wasn't. She took a wrong turn with two other employees, and somehow ended up separated. "I swear the sign pointed this way," she muttered. "It absolutely did not," someone argued. Before the argument escalated, a familiar voice echoed from the trail behind them. "Cierra." They turned. Jae-min emerged from the trees, breath uneven, expression half fury, half relief. "You're," he exhaled sharply, "safe." "Of course I'm safe," she said. "We just took a wrong path." He stepped closer, eyes scanning her for injuries. "You scared me," he said quietly. She froze. "You were scared." He looked away, jaw tight. "You're an important employee. Losing you would be inconvenient." She smiled gently. "You can just admit you were worried." He sighed. "I was worried." Just like that, simple, raw, real. The others went ahead, leaving the two of them trailing behind on a quieter path. By the time they reached the mountain's lookout point, the sun had set. The team gathered far ahead, taking photos and chatting loudly. But Cierra and Jae-min stood a little behind, alone in the dim light. The sky stretched above them, full of stars. Cierra hugged her arms. "It's beautiful." "Yes," he murmured. She turned to look at him, only to find him already looking at her. Not at the stars, not at the sky. Her breath caught. "What?" she whispered. "You really don't see it, do you?" he said softly. "See what?" His voice dropped to a whisper. "The way you change everything." Her heartbeat trembled. "Jae-min." He took one step closer, not touching, but close enough that she felt the heat of him, close enough for the air to spark. But then he exhaled shakily and stepped back. "If I stay this close," he murmured, "I might say things I shouldn't." Her chest tightened. "Maybe I want to hear them," she admitted. His eyes darkened, full of longing and restraint. "It's not time yet," he whispered. "But soon." Their eyes locked for one long, charged second. A second that promised a future neither of them dared speak aloud. The Jeju trip changed everything. And yet, nothing. Back in Seoul, Cierra felt like she had stepped into an alternate universe. One where her heart tripped over itself every time she remembered the way Jae-min looked at her under the stars. The problem was, at the office he pretended none of it happened. Not the late-night drinking. Not the almost confession. Not the moment he nearly told her she changed him. Not even the way he looked at her like she was something he wanted but was afraid to touch. Instead, he walked into work on Monday morning with his tie perfectly aligned, his expression cold, and his voice clipped and professional. "Good morning," she said, trying to sound normal. He barely lifted his eyes. "Report on my desk by noon." Just like that. A wall. A thick, frustrating, invisible wall. Cierra blinked, confused and stung. She had expected things to be different. Not romantic. Not fairy tale. But at least warm. Instead, he acted like she was simply another employee. Like Jeju never happened. The office buzzed with gossip about the trip. "I heard the CEO helped her when she got lost." "No way. Seonim doesn't help anybody." "Didn't they sit together during drinking night?" "I saw them." Their shoulders touched. Cierra tried to tune it out, but it was impossible. Every time someone whispered her name, her ears caught it. And every time someone suggested she and the CEO were close, her stomach twisted. Because she didn't know what they were. She didn't know what he felt. She wasn't even sure what she herself felt. Not with her heart still healing from Alex and her life still unstable. But she knew one thing. Jae-min was pushing her away. And she didn't understand why. 2 days passed. Then 3. Then 5. Within a week, Jae-min seemed to have perfected the art of avoiding her. He left meetings right as she entered. He sent feedback through department heads instead of speaking to her. He refused to be in the break room at the same time. And not once, did he look her directly in the eyes. It was like she was a shadow he didn't trust himself to stand near. At first, Cierra tried to rationalize it. He's busy. He's the CEO. He's stressed. He's overwhelmed. But each excuse felt more flimsy than the last. She felt invisible, unwanted, embarrassed even. Had she imagined everything? Had the alcohol on Jeju Island made her misread his words? Had she let her loneliness trick her into thinking he cared? Her stomach twisted painfully. She didn't want to repeat her mistake with Alex. Falling for someone who didn't choose her back. No, never again. What Cierra didn't know was that Jae-min was having a miserable week. He had never been more distracted in his life. He stayed late in the office each night, worked through meals, took calls to avoid passing by her desk. He did everything possible to avoid the one thing he knew would destroy all his boundaries. Her, Cierra, the woman who laughed with her whole heart, who argued passionately, who looked at him like she actually saw him. Not the CEO, not the cold perfectionist, but the man. He couldn't let himself fall. Not again. He knew what love did to people. It made them weak, irrational, vulnerable. The last time he'd let someone close, he lost them. The pain nearly shattered him. He couldn't do that again. Not when his company needed stability. Not when his family was pressuring him into an arranged marriage he had no interest in. Not when employees already whispered about Cierra getting special treatment. He needed distance. He needed silence. He needed to protect himself from her before she broke him. And so he avoided her. But every time he heard her laugh in the hallway, his chest tightened. Every time she walked by, the air changed. Every time she spoke, he felt drawn to her like gravity. He told himself he could handle it. But he was already losing control. The breaking point came on a Wednesday afternoon. Cierra stepped into the elevator, arms full of folders, when someone rushed in behind her. A young female employee, Jae-min. She smiled shyly. "Oh, sorry, Cierra SSI. Didn't mean to bump into you." "It's okay." Cierra smiled warmly. The elevator doors started to close. But then, a hand slid between them. The doors opened again, and Jae-min walked in. Cierra froze. He hadn't been this close to her in days. Jae-min gasped softly and bowed. "Seonim." Jae-min barely acknowledged her before stepping to the opposite corner of the elevator. Eyes fixed forward. Cierra's heart thudded painfully. He couldn't even look at her? She swallowed hard and looked away. The elevator hummed in silence for a few seconds, until Jae spoke. "Seonim," she said nervously. "Thank you for the coffee yesterday." Cierra blinked. Jae-min stiffened slightly. It was nothing. Cierra felt something sharp twist inside her chest. Coffee? With a pretty junior employee? Private thanks? Her stomach dropped. So that was why he'd been avoiding her. He'd moved on. Quickly. Easily. Thank you for watching. Episode 2 ends here. Find out more about the story in episode 3 coming up soon. If you enjoyed the story, leave us a comment. Also like, share and subscribe to our channel, and click on the notification bell to get notified whenever a new story is made.